We're
Okay.
live.
Hi, how are you guys? Perfect.
Hello,
So
hello.
Hello.
welcome to the event. Today is gonna be history.
Yeah, today we are meeting with Tyler and Alex, and they're both Disney animators. They worked on Zootopia too, so we're going to kind of get a big peek behind the scenes about what it's like to work at a major studio. And I'm here with Manuela. She's an AnimSchool graduate, and I'll kind of turn it over to you, Manuela.
Sure. So today's event is a live animation workshop where you really understand what it's really like to work behind the scenes as an animator in an actual production, like from two great animators, as Jesse said. We'd also love to hear questions throughout the stream, so you can feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we'll go over it at the end. But yeah, today we have two incredible Disney animators, Tyler Mann and Alexander Rivera. They will be sharing their insights about Zootopia 2. And yeah, like if I'd love it to hear more about you, and if you can give us a quick introduction, that would be great.
Yeah, so Tyler, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, yeah, I started learning animation from AnimSchool in 2019 of April. I kind of had like a big switch in terms of what I wanted to do for my career. I went to school for business economics, so nothing to do with animation, and then I worked at a health insurance firm for a year, and I always could draw to a certain extent, so that was kind of always like tickling the back of my head. And once I started doing it more in college, I realized like I actually kind of want to pursue this, but I don't really know how. And so, kind of got lucky with the timing in terms of one of my neighbors moved, and a couple moved in, and it was a story artist at DreamWorks and an animator at Sony. So it was the perfect time for me to ask them, like, how do you learn this stuff and where can I go? And she told me there are schools online, AnimSchool, Animation Mentor, all this stuff. They're all great. Go check it out. And so I was researching stuff, and the showcase for AnimSchool was what really attracted me, and the rigs, and specifically Ignacio, and it looked exactly like what I wanted to do. I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. I'm gonna learn that, and I'm gonna quit my job and do that stuff. So I went to Anim School. I did the whole program, and then from I finished in 2020 of December, and my instructor at Anim School, my class 7 instructor, Mitch Yeager, actually was a supervisor at Sony, and he asked me, we're hiring. Do you want to work at Sony on Hotel Transylvania 4? Yes, of course. So then I went to Vancouver and worked there. It was a little bit tricky because it was during the pandemic. So it was March 2021, and the border was closed, so I had to like do all this stuff to get there. And then yeah, so I worked on Hotel T4, and then um, once that was done, it was kind of like stay in Vancouver alone and go on the next film or not. And I chose not to do that because I was again stuck there by myself, and I wanted to see my family and try to plan my life to be a little bit more my speed. And so I came back, and then I did some freelance stuff. And then Disney was hiring, so I just applied on a whim, and they called me back, and I started at Disney in October of 2021 on Zootopia Plus, which is a short, and then um, did Strange World, and then I worked on Wish, and then Moana 2 and Zootopia 2. And um, somewhere in the middle there, I started teaching at Anim School. I taught at Anim School for 2 years for class 6 facial performance. So I kind of have the experience on both ends, being the student and then also being the instructor, which is really cool. And yeah, that's me.
Tyler, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So when did you knew like you wanted to pursue animation? Like what made you like did you watch a film or was there a moment like growing up that you were like, "Oh, I love animation." Like what made you fall in love with that?
It was sort of, there was two things. One was kind of like this slow burn, like almost Karate Kid Miyagi type thing, where I didn't know it happened to me until I like looked back and realized it did. And then the other one was kind of an instant thing. So the instant thing was in college. So again, I was going to UCLA for business economics, and um, it's a quite competitive program, and friends around me were taking electives, and my major didn't really allow any room for that. So I was kind of getting a little bit of FOMO, and just wanting to have some type of fun class because it sounded great from hearing my peers taking these electives. So I saw an animation class um, listed, and I thought, well, I can draw, so that sounds cool. I've never thought about animating because it seems too challenging. Like I've always, whenever I want to draw something, I draw, one pose or one image or whatever. Drawing it in motion, that sounds way too hard. But why not try it? So when I did that, I realized like, oh yeah, it takes a long time, but it's not as difficult as I thought it would be. It just takes a long time. And so that kind of hooked me where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this major anymore. But I had to finish the major because I was already like, this was in the end of my junior year. So I was going into my senior year. I already had internship lined up. And then once I did the internship, they offered me the job. So it was like ready for me outside of college. So I couldn't just pivot out. And so that was kind of the first thing that just like really sent me over the edge of like, okay, I actually don't want to do this stuff. I want to do animation because the class was really fun. Um, and then the slow burn was like when I since I've been a very young kid, I've always loved watching movies, and I've always loved acting and like impersonating actors just to see if I can like do the same thing. Like Jim Carrey was a huge inspiration to me when I was a kid. And I always just loved that movie, everything about movies and acting. And so when I started pursuing animation, I realized like, oh, we're not just drawing, we're actually also acting. There's a big performance aspect in animation. And I have like this library of movies and acting and references in my head that I can, oh, this shot would be cool if it was similar to like this, or it's like there's just so much uh, info I've gathered over the years of just watching movies that have added up in my head over time that I can kind of like get inspiration from. So those are the kind of the two things that basically sent me into animation.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting to hear. And I think like we can all relate to that kind of like having to choose like people who are actually animation, like they have to choose whether, follow your dreams or like something like, that is kind of like it's more stable, but it's really not that. You just need to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can go ahead and we can go to Alex. Say, I'd love to hear about you and your journey.
Yeah, so, well, I was born in Costa Rica, which is a very small country in Central America, and I didn't start too far from the tree. I actually started in design, but I felt like I wanted more control of the things that I created. And then this 3D animation course was starting in my local university, and so I signed up for that. Super interesting. Um, so it's more like a 3D generalist course, and to be honest, I wasn't too great on it. Because you do modeling, you do rigging, you do so many things. And then there was one teacher that for the first time she said to me like, I think you could do animation. And I was good with motion. I was good like portraying emotions, student level, of course. And I started like investigating online courses, and I did a couple of online courses. I did AnimSchool as well, and that helped me get out of my small bubble and discover this whole new world. I did two internships with Disney. The first one was Disney Research, and then I did another internship with Disney Animation, and we made a small short called Voila. It's a summer internship, but it was like the first time that I got to experience the studio. When I was doing this internship, they were doing Wreck-It Ralph 2. So, you get to see like, okay, what does it mean to go to rounds? What does it mean to go director review? And I feel like that experience changed my mindset a lot, and also opened more opportunities for me, because the first years you have to deal with, okay, leveling up your portfolio. You have to deal with visas. You have to deal with finding your first opportunity. And it was kind of hard for me at the start, but this internship like opened so many doors for me, and I was also willing to travel. I wanted to experience the world, and that's how I got my first job in the industry. I had to travel all the way to Australia. Fantastic place, very far. But yeah, I did my first movie there. It was like a BFX movie for Apple TV. Then I jumped to Framestore. Then the pandemic hit, and uh, we had to finish this movie Tom and Jerry. We had to finish from home. So it was very challenging, because when you go to a new studio, you also experience a new pipeline, a new way of working. So there's like this whole set of challenges that when you're from home remote, sometimes it can be a little difficult. But then that happened, and after that, I worked a little with Axis Studio, and then I got the opportunity to go to Canada with Sony ImageWorks. And I feel like this is another very important point in my career, because this a big studio like Sony is like really shape you as an animator. It's like it helps you flourish. Because they do so many styles. They have so many talented people. So when I got to Sony, I did the Sea Beast movie, and it wasn't a particularly easy show to start at Sony, I'd say. And of course, you go from student to animator, and there's like a jump that you feel. Um, which is also challenging. But the good thing about these big studios is, the people that is next to you. Because the biggest tool you have is your coworkers. So I learned a lot through that movie, and then I went to this other movie called In Your Dreams, and then as this other movie was happening, Disney was also opening in Vancouver, and that's when I applied, and hopefully I was like crossing fingers because I really wanted to go back to the studio, and it happened. And then I did Moana 2, I did Zootopia 2, and now we're working on a new movie. So yeah, it was like a huge journey for me that involved traveling. And again, if I could give advice to new students that are like on these first steps, like I call them baby steps. uh I'd say like be willing to move, be willing to travel, to experience the world, because it was definitely a rewarding experience. And all these little jumps you take, it's like they definitely help you get to your ultimate goal. But yeah, that's pretty much the journey for me.
Wow, that's impressive. For you, Alex, I actually want to ask. So your experience is really interesting because I've heard some people do internships, but you did 2 internships at Walt Disney Animation Studios. Like, do you say like internships are the best way to break into the industry?
Uh, well, I wouldn't say is the only way, but it definitely helps. You know, even when I got my first job in the industry, it's like you feel you go to school again. But you know, the good thing about these online classes is it sets an environment that you feel you are in rounds. You know, it's like you show your work, you have your instructor, and then you get your work, you know, you get feedback. With internships, is very similar. You know, you have a bigger project that you develop, but the important thing is for me is like two things. It's like you learn how to improve your teamwork because in the second internship with Disney Animation, you know, it was only five of us doing a short film. Um, and we didn't know each other. So we had to learn how to work well together because you know we have a deadline and we have a huge project. So you know teamwork is essential. And then the number two thing is you get this exposure of you know the studio culture, and you learn not only how to animate, but you also learn how to be a person. You know, like an animation person. You learn like all the all the passion that it's in the air, and it's very contagious. It changes your mindset. So I'd say if you can get an internship, you know that's perfect. It can even happen while you're in anim school. You can still apply for internships. You can you know keep leveling up, and then you know of course is a good help. But it's not the only way. For example, Disney also do these apprenticeships. It's like when you graduate, you have like I think like 3 years to apply. I think I'd applied like 6 times for the apprenticeship, and 6 times I got rejected. It's like you know, it's not easy to get these things. Sometimes you have to be in the right time, in the right moment. And rejection, I feel like is just part of the process. It sometimes it means that you have to adjust little things. The important thing is like every time you show something different. You know, something new that shows progress, that shows you know who you are as an animator. What I like from Tyler, for example, is when you see his work, it's like you can see his identity, his brand. You know, when we get to see his work, and Tyler, what I like from your work is all the little bits, the specific bits, the little mannerisms that you manage to put in your shots. That speaks so like how you do your research, you know, and maybe later in the talk, we can talk about workflows because that's
Yeah,
something that is very, very interesting. And I feel like, you know, we can both share insights.
yeah, and Alex, I'm very happy that you brought up how many times it took to apply to get somewhere. And I think sometimes when we've tried something 2 3 4 times, we think like I gave my best shot, that's it. And one of the things that's helpful about studying with other artists and getting to know pros is that they know the difference between like a pro and an amateur is that a pro knows that they have to keep adjusting their approach, and that you just keep refining, and then also understanding, like you said, there is a little bit of luck in terms of timing. It's networking, it's understanding the value of your work. And so for you, Alex, and for Tyler, I know that you've done a lot of that work of just really honing your skill and honing your network, and I always like to say, people say, oh, you're lucky. Well, I believe that every time that you applied for an internship or a job, it was you putting a little luck token in. It's kind of like a lottery. And the more times that you do these, you put in some like more luck, that's what's happening. And so that was really good to hear in terms of people say, how do I break in the industry? I think it's that there's not just one way. You have to have a lot of methods. And I also am very, very excited to have both of you on, but especially I think we're excited to see the stuff that Tyler's going to show to us today, because as someone who is a huge fan of animation and who has kids, seeing Zootopia in the theater, which is a beautiful, beautiful film, and one of my favorite concept artists ever did most of the character kind of amazing stuff, which is oh shoot, what's his name? Like the best, he worked on Wreck-It Ralph. Someone help me out here. Corey Loftus. Yeah. So Corey Loftus is, I think, in my opinion, the greatest kind of animation concept artist working today. And so I have like all the art of books that have the Corey Loftus drawings. And what I think that was so cool that I noticed in Zootopia 2 was some of the scenes or some of the exploration that Corey Loftus had for Zootopia 1, I felt like were unused things showed up in Zootopia 2. And the through line there is that my favorite new kind of character that showed up was the Linksley family. And anytime any of the Linksley family was on screen, I was hooked. They are so fun to watch. They're so amazing. I actually think the best character, most interesting character, is Andy Samberg's character. And then I've been watching Tyler for years, and when I made the connection that Tyler had done a ton of stuff with the Linksley family, I just lost it. And that's kind of, I think, the impetus of us doing this live stream is so that other people really know, like, what it takes to animate something so awesome, like all the pieces. So we're really excited. I'm so excited to learn more about what Tyler knows about working on such a cool character and like the Linksley family. So if that's okay, Tyler, we're gonna kind of turn some stuff over to you. And I didn't introduce myself. I'm an artist director at AnimSchool. Another thing I really am excited to talk to you guys about, I teach digital painting classes, and I hope that Tyler can show some of this other stuff. And I'm a big believer, this is not a requirement, but I think that if you can learn how to draw and to paint, it's going to make you a better animator. It's not a requirement if you're doing 3D animation to be an artist or to paint. But I'm hoping that, I think Tyler and I have the same mindset, that it's a huge, you talk about everything you could do to have that edge to get into this industry. And I think Tyler and I both agree that learning how to draw, even with AI, everything else, is like a superpower, and you should not neglect it. And so with that, Tyler, I'd love to kind of turn that, talking about your whole experience, especially in Zootopia 2. And let's really focus today. I think let's look at this workshop today. Let's really focus in on the Linksley family and looking at it from that lens, because I think let's really focus on that today.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
So yeah, go for it. Let's get we're gonna show your screen here.
Okay.
All right, and then here we go. Let's see.
Hold on.
Let's see here.
Pull this over here so I can see. Okay. Yeah. So okay, I'll just play this for right now. It's just one of the shots.
So yeah, as you're kind of getting these up, like, oh, sorry. I'll start. I'll shut up and you maybe start over. I ruined it. Maybe
sure,
start over.
I'll just let it run.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I forgot about this whole thing. Here I could.
Yeah, I'm really stoked to see.
I'll just let the final run over and over again.
Yeah, get off stage, Pobbert. Are you?
Yeah, I am a Linksley, or I'm trying to be. Now, Pobbert.
Come on, Poppy. I get
Stage Pobbert.
Yeah, get off stage, Pobbert. Are you?
Yeah, I am a Linksley, or I'm trying to be. Now, Pobbert.
Come on, Poppy. I get
Stage Pobbert.
Yeah.
Unmuted. Okay. Yeah. So I could show you like the layout and the rest of it too.
Yes. Maybe before you do that, Tyler, just so that we know, can you tell us as you're kind of showing us here, what characters you worked on, kind of what were your kind of main things that you were in charge of, and especially with the Linksleys.
So I basically did all the Lynxes and Judy. So I did not do any of the background characters here. So just these three right here. And then I did do the background characters here, but it's super quick. And then obviously Pobert and Judy. And then again, just these five right here were the ones that I worked on.
So cool.
But this is what it looked like beforehand.
Yeah, get off stage, Robert. Are you?
Yeah. Now, Robert.
Come on, Poppy. I get. Stage, Robert. Yeah, get off stage, Robert. Are you?
Yeah. Now, Robert.
Come on, Poppy. I get.
Stage, Robert.
Yeah, get off stage, Robert. Are you?
Yeah. Now.
Okay, so that's incredible. And so for someone who might be really interested in animation and has never really seen kind of how the hot dog is made, Tyler, can you kind of explain each one of those passes and like why they look the way they do? Because that maybe someone's never seen like a play blast before. Maybe maybe kind of tell us a little bit about how this process works.
Yeah. So basically, this is how we get it from layout. So layout is the bridge between storyboard and animation. So storyboards, it's just the little doodles, basically, like the drawings of, they normally have it on paper, but now because everything's in digital softwares and stuff like that, they're basically just doing the same thing on a digital software where they're drawing the storyboard artists, they get the script, and then they sit down with the director and then they kind of talk about the sequence and like what the main points of the sequence, what the emotional beats of the sequence are, and kind of the highs and lows of that sequence. And then the story artists will go and they start drawing, everything. So the story artists are controlling so much. They're controlling like sets, camera angles, compositions, focal length, because they determine how close and far the characters are from the camera. Is it a super long lens or short lens, whatever it is? And they basically create everything, and then they show it to the director and the editorial team, and then they kind of cut it up and shorten stuff here and maybe add this shot isn't quite working. Let's change that shot, so they'll go draw another one from maybe a different composition or angle or whatever. And once they narrow that down and they like the sequence on how it is, they need to get these drawings into the 3D assets. So then layout comes and they basically build the sequence in the 3D software. They bring Nick and Judy into Presto and they bring the assets, the environments, all the characters, the background characters, they bring it all in. They set up the camera angles to match sort of the boards. Maybe it's not one-to-one, but they kind of get the feeling of it to make sure that like the characters are tracking properly across the sequence and nothing's confusing, and everything still makes sense. Because sometimes the story artists, they'll do some little camera cheats where it's like, oh, that is, if you think about it, that wouldn't work in one camera move, so we have to kind of just cut it up into two shots. How is that going to work now? And so layout does that, and they get the focal length and all the camera stuff locked down to make sure there's no jarring camera moves or anything like that, and everything's pleasant to the eye. Then it comes to animation. So once it comes to animation, you have the heads of they basically, and the supervisors of this sequence will cast out shots. They'll like chop up packets of the sequence into these chunks, and they'll give it out to animators. And then once we get it, we have an issuing where we sit down with the director. They play layout, what I just showed you on screen, and then the director explains to the animator what is happening and what the emotional beats are, what's critical in this shot, like what's the importance of this shot, what the characters are thinking. And that's your opportunity to ask any questions you want. Like if you already have an idea, you can ask them like, this is what I was thinking. Or if you want some clarity on something, like what's the exact subtext of Milton here, or Catrick, or Judy, or Pobbert, you can ask those questions, and you get all your information out there. So you kind of strip away all of the guessing, and you strip away all of the unnecessary acting choices. So if they're like, Milton is super serious here, or Milton is, you know, kind of like an old jolly guy, that's two different acting choices. If I didn't have that issuing, I may have picked Milton super serious here.
Yeah. And really quick, while you're talking this, so we can see, can you just pause it and just show a frame of layout? So as you're talking, we kind of see. So find a kind of keyframe here as you're talking. So people are understanding. So you are getting the layout, and then they're going to give you all the sound. They're going to give you the direction. Then this is your time to ask the questions. Okay. So we're there. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. So I actually animated a sequence of Milton, Catrick, and Kitty before this that happens after this scene in the movie. So I animated that one first. And that's when Milton is, I actually don't have that shot in this setup right now, but that's when Milton is basically like, he's talking to Windancer in his like chambers, and he's like, we're gonna get that fox and that rabbit, you know, like, do you know how many mayors they've already destroyed? So Milton's super serious there. And that was one of the first shots of Milton animated on the film. So that's kind of all I had. So if I were like, my instincts going into this were just kind of have him like, he doesn't really, he's like this elite high status. He doesn't really care about anyone around him. He's just like, I'm, you know, this grumpy old dude who just cares about power and money. That was my instincts. But then when I went into issuing, they were like, oh, he's kind of like jolly and happy here. Just like this old man who just is enjoying life. Because they kind of wanted to hide the ball a bit for when you see him, you know, actually evil. So that's why issuing's great, because I would have picked the wrong instincts.
That's great, because you're given something, you might not see the whole bird's eye view, and just in the production, right, like you said, the lead artist, your lead artist, they're being given chunks of these scenes, layouts giving you this is the time to ask all your questions. That's perfect, because you go, oh cool, this guy's the bad guy. It's like, yeah, but we don't want to know they're the bad guy yet. So you've got to like make sure that the emotion is correct, and we're not like giving anything away. And then in terms of you know, you're being given, how are you given the audio from the character? So let's talk about, you know, I don't know if you can scroll a little bit forward where you get to Andy Samberg's character. So I'd love to talk about this, because I think, to me, this is the standout performance in the movie. I think it's my favorite thing in the movie is Andy Samberg's character. Very, very interesting. So I was wondering, like, when you first were given this character, what were the notes that they gave you? And then what did you ask the director? Like, what were you know, how did you understand this character?
Yeah. So, okay, I have to like pull things out right now.
But you gotta pull from your memory. Like when you're first given, that's what's kind of cool, is when you're a lead animator on a major, you know, character. Yeah. What's the first impression that they give you right here, you know?
Yeah. So Pobbert was actually one of the last characters we animated, because they still were trying to hone in on him. They couldn't figure it out until the very end. It was kind of like, obviously we want to feel bad for Pobbert here. And this is actually the only moment in the movie where we have one chance to show that the Lingsley family doesn't like him. And so we have to make sure that like Pobbert is kind of like this goofy, lovable guy. And then Catrick's going to basically shove him out of the way. Like, you're worthless, get out of here. And basically this whole sequence leading up to it, it was, Jared specifically said, if Nick and Judy never met, Judy would probably partner up with this guy. Like Nick or Judy and Pobert would kind of be a team. So he should be kind of drawing Judy in a little bit in terms of his charm. So I think that's kind of the main thing that I can remember from this packet. Andy Samberg just did such a nice job with the voiceover, so that helps me a lot when I hear the "I'm trying to be," like, just the way it's coming out of his mouth, like I can hear it and just know, like, that's not a regular "I'm trying to be." He's talking out of the side of his mouth. I can just tell, like, his teeth are closed just by the sound. So that to me as an animator is already like juicy. So I'm very excited to get into that. And that's kind of where I had the thought of like doing that move where he's kind of unsure and he's just like, I'm gonna do the best I can type thing. And that's also kind of playing into that like goofy charm to him. So yeah, that's kind of how this shot happened. And then,
and if I may kind of talk about that process for those of you who are interested in this kind of pipeline, which is being used across all the major studios about how you build a shot. How do you learn how to do this kind of thing, right? Like, how do you learn this whole pipeline? Like, how did you learn it? And like, how are when you have someone like Andy Samberg, who's the super celebrity, how do you learn how to embody that character yourself? Like, how much of like the merging of Andy Samberg's voice and yours and your own performance, like how do you make those happen and how do you learn how to do that?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very interesting question. I think it actually kind of matters based on the animator. I think everyone has like different ways of navigating that. Like there's incredible animators who do not use reference or draw and they just pull it right out of their head. It's like, how are you doing that? Like, and then there are other animators who will thumbnail and they'll draw stuff. And so they kind of will draw, like they'll hear the audio. I think overall, all of us kind of have the same overarching theme, which we have different methods, but we're always going for like the feeling. So it's like the feeling is almost like just an instinct of, it's not like formulaic or exact. It's just you hear something or you see something and it kind of gives you just a feeling, like almost as if you're squinting, and you're looking at something. You're not seeing it clearly 100%, but you can kind of get the essence of something. So for me, like I said, I kind of was super into acting as a kid and impersonating actors, and something that I always did with friends. We'd always just impersonate lines from a movie. So when I hear a line, it's almost like I'm trying to reenact this line with the inflections and the cadence of the line. So I get the voice audio and it has a feeling to me. And I will then go and try to recreate that feeling in the reference room. And I like reference, especially when we have very limited time, because it kind of gets me to a good starting point quickly. But then there's many times, like I can show another shot where there was no reference possible for this run of shots. But yeah, so I like to lean on like acting more, whereas some people might lean on their 2D drawing skills, so they'll just like that, I'm trying to be like that line, like what does that feel like if I drew it? So then they'll draw it out and then they'll just go through maybe like 5, 6, 7 drawings of like on their paper, just thumbnails. Okay, that's the right pose. That feels like that to me. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of how we navigate that. But in terms of the pipeline, I think basically AnimSchool taught me how to do that. The AnimSchool the shots that you're doing in AnimSchool are very similar to how shots happen here. It's pretty much identical. Except you as a student, it's a little bit, it requires a little bit more work because you have to pick the audio, whereas here you're given the audio. So as a student, you have even more freedom to do whatever you want because you can dictate which audio you want to use, how long you want to make it. And in a studio, they're like, this is how long it's going to be. Is this audio? You got to make it fit in this, you know? And that comes from editorial and the constant nuance editing that they're doing over and over again. They got it to a certain, again, feeling because they don't have the animation. They just see boards. So they're feeling it out with these still images. And so, yeah, as a student at AnimSchool, it's very similar. Like you get this shot, you do a blocking pass, well, you create your own shot, you create your own audio, and you create your own camera angles, and then you animate it and you show it to your instructor. I show it to the directors. They give me feedback. Instructor gives the student feedback, and then it's just pretty much that until the shot's good. And then, yeah. You're muted, Jesse.
This is what I want to say as someone who's watched Tyler's career unfold. One of the things that was so cool is how he got excited about one of our characters who was designed by one of the Bancroft brothers, Ignacio. He's this, Bancroft is the same person who designed Mushu from Disney. So there's a lot of, it's really cool that like the thing that got you excited about AnimSchool was animating that lizard character. And I look forward to the showcase every year. And the year that you did Ignacio is one of my top, it's in my top 3 shots of all time. Tyler, if you guys go look, I'll try to find it here, but I don't know if you can maybe pull that up, Tyler. I don't know if you're able to while we're talking about it. Is Tyler did this amazing shot of our character, which we provide these cinema quality rigs at AnimSchool for you to get your reel to apply to jobs with. Tyler did this amazing animation with Ignacio in an arcade, and it's still like one of the coolest things I've ever seen a student do.
Yeah, give me a moment. I think.
And then Manuela, like, can you maybe explain how that works too? Like, as a graduate at AnimSchool, like, how does it work, right? Like, we're talking about, oh, we want to work in the industry, but you know, how do we apply? So, like, how does it work in terms of like getting these shots to your reel? Like, if you're a beginner and you've never done animation, like, it's probably pretty intimidating, right, to see these like fully fledged shots. So, like, how did you get started while he's finding that, Manuel, at AnimSchool, having not necessarily done animation before? Like, how is that for you?
For me, it was kind of overwhelming at first. I'd say it's a lot to start, like when you start learning, like you have like all the animation principles and everything. But I feel like the structure is very well done at AnimSchool, which makes it like go you like they give you like a step to step, so it's easy, and you have like always have an instructor. I actually had Tyler as my instructor for my facial performance class. But they teach you everything about the workflow and you just get used to it. It's a matter of, keep going and class by class, just doing the best you can.
And as he's pulling that up, because you took Tyler's class, like, can you guys kind of maybe talk kind of what was it like teaching Manuela, Tyler? Like, how do you go from like student to working in the industry to teaching, like, and then how are you mentoring like other people into this? Like, how does that all, I don't know, I'm more just like, this is so interesting, like how it's like all helping each other, right? Like, you went to AnimSchool, you got in the industry, now you're helping others get into it. What's that been like for you, and specifically like talking about Manuela and others?
Yeah, so it's like you basically just, you learn how instructors teach to you. You realize they have different styles and different methods of teaching, and then you kind of formulate your own, and then you sort of provide information, and then as you're working in the industry, you're learning even more things, and you're learning things from other professionals and animators who inspire you, and then it's kind of like well, here's things that I didn't learn about that I kind of want to share. And so I feel like that's kind of how I did it. I just basically was like, if I was a student, this is kind of what I would like to hear from an instructor. And so I just thought it would be cool to, teach students animation, because I was on the other side, and it helped me so much that it's like I kind of want to give back in the same way. And so yeah, it was. I mean, Manuela was a great student. I still remember her shot. It was like this kid playing with a rocket ship and singing.
Oh my gosh, that's my favorite. That's I would say, when you're a student, the instructors, they're not gonna say if it's right or wrong. They're just gonna give you the best direction. Like you're your own art director, and they're just gonna lead you to that direction you're going for. So I think that's the difference between, like I've had like many great instructors in AnimSchool. Tyler, one of the best. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to see like things progressing, because you can really see your progress at AnimSchool.
Yeah, and if I can jump really quick, I think like as a student, the best thing that you can get from your instructor, and something that really changed my shots in my whole journey, is when I learned how to think. Because at the start of your journey is like you have an audio and you react to that audio. But as you get more instruction, as you get people with more experience, you start learning things about like subtext, like what's happening behind the lines. What's the real truth of this shot, and then you start digging deeper and asking yourself more questions, and these questions help you avoid cliches, or help you to be more specific, more like your shots. They don't have rigs anymore, they have characters. And something cool, for example, from what Tyler just showed in Zootopia, is like when you see the layout, you just see like 3 rigs walking through the screen. But when you show like your first look, and first looks are something that I really like. It's like a Disney first look is called like when you show for the first time to directors. And Tyler, to talk a little bit maybe about your workflow and what is a good first look for you. And because when you first see these 3 characters coming into screen, you get to also experience a little bit of them, and you only have so much time to show like personality, like you have to show intention. So I'm just very curious of how you think when when you get your debrief from your director and all the way to this first look, because I feel like there's an ocean that happens between these two.
Yeah. I'll just play my first look for a second. So this is basically the first thing I show the director. You can watch it real quick.
Stage Poppert.
Yeah, get off stage, Poppert.
Wait, are you? Yeah, I am a Linksley, or I'm trying to be. Now, Poppert.
Come on, Poppy. I got.
It was a little choppy for me. Was that playing well?
Yeah, I was playing.
Okay.
One quick question though, like what was the time for this? Talking about timeline, how long did it take you to finish this shot?
Okay, so all right, there's a little bit of caveats here with this one. This shot, like I said, Robert was one of the last characters animated, and there wasn't. We were in a very, very tight time crunch for this one, and I had another packet of Robert as well, which I could show, and they were kind of like on top of each other. So I had to turn these around faster than they would normally give us. And the reason why I'm explaining this is because I don't want to like scare anyone, like this is impossible to do in such a fast time. I put this on myself. I said I can do this in this time frame. Let me do both of these packets. Don't worry about it. I'll get it done on time. And part of that has to do with like your performance earlier on the show, and then the trust that you have with your leadership. And they trusted me, which I'm very thankful for. that I was able to get both of these packets. But this packet, I think I did in 2 weeks. And then the other packet I did in 2 weeks because I had like 4 weeks to do these two packets. So it was, I was also working like ridiculous hours, like 12 hours every day. And so again, I put that on myself. They don't force you to do that. If you have limits on overtime, you can say like, this is how much overtime I'm willing to do. I was like, give it all to me. I don't care. So anyway, in terms of the first look, I generally like to show my stuff splined out, but you can see that the second and the third shot are not. It's in stepped, simply because of these time constraints. But regardless of that, my process of showing anything during a first look, and I've learned this kind of from AnimSchool and also like Strange World and yeah, pretty much Strange World and in Zootopia Plus. I don't want anyone guessing what I'm trying to say. And I would on Zootopia Plus and Strange World, I would kind of show this like, and in AnimSchool, I would show kind of like a work in progress in stepped of like, hey, just checking in, this is what I have, but like there's so much more I still want to do. The problem with that is that's okay to learn as a student. I actually encourage you to learn it that way as a student because you need to understand what that means in order to do the other way around of showing everything all at once. Again, it doesn't have to be in spline to show everything all at once. You can have it on fours in step, still showing everything. But the thing is when I say like to an instructor or a director, like I want to do more things, they don't know what I mean. So to them, that can mean anything. You know, if I just say like picture a dog right now, you're picturing a different dog than I am. And if I say picture a golden retriever, you're still picturing a different golden retriever than I am. And it could be in a different pose than I'm thinking of. It could be doing a different action that I'm thinking of. So there's too much guessing happening when you don't show all of the information. So I generally like to take my shots to spline because that's usually where I can show all my information. But even in the stepped version of it here, like this part, all the information is there. And even here, all the information is here. The timing is a little bit slower on the flick, just because again I was hadn't figured it out yet, and I just needed to get the information there. It's like timing I can adjust a little bit. That is part of the information, but
real quick, Tyler, can you show that again? I was getting your Instagram up, so I think we missed your little
Yeah, get off stage, Poppers. Are you? Now, Poppers. I get.
So just a couple things changing, like with Pobbert, when he's going, yeah, I am a Linksley, and I originally had him go like, I am a Linksley, but this into this, it felt too repetitive and similar. So, and I did a pose of Pobbert earlier where he was like kind of playing with his finger like this, and I liked that pose, and so I thought, well, that's actually would work here, so I'll just redo that again here. Instead, I don't have to do this twice. So that's the only thing that kind of changed from there. And then just pushing things. And then in the next shot, you know, I just snapped up the push and added more, you know, weight and mechanics to everyone. But yeah, Alex, does that kind of answer like what you were looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add to what you're saying is something that's very important is when you say you want to be clear, is like we can see in each character, you know, his or her status in relationship to other. It's very clear, you know, that every individual in this shot has a way of thinking. and that's not always very easy to do. It takes a lot of research, a lot of experimenting, and in these shots, something that was also very cool is like you feel guided where to see in the screen. And you accomplish this very well by a combination of good posing, good acting, and also good timing. Because I feel when you add timing to a shot, you add interest. It's like where's the interest in this shot, and you can accomplish that with like a maybe a variation of timing, maybe a variation of posing, and when you combine that along with the acting itself, it's like the shot becomes just more specific, more rich on every way, and that's something that's is really really cool. I can also see like you like blocking in stepped, and I in my first years I did a lot of blocking in step. Now I do layering. I feel like step is great, but it takes me so much time to clean it later
Yeah,
in the spline stages.
I actually, I actually did a very different workflow for this shot specifically, specifically this one. Um, and I liked it. I tried something new, which is obviously like not the best time when you have no time to try something new. But
Right.
I basically used because when you're in steps, you're kind of like worrying about the poses. You're not worrying about the motion, right? So you're just using kind of the controls in any way possible to get like the best pose. So in it to read how you want. So I did that knowing, okay, like I have to show this in step because I don't have time to do what I normally do and just take it to spline. So I knew I had to show this in step. So I just tried to like focus on the clear poses of like what I'm trying to say. And then that, and there's an advantage to working in step. Like when you focus on poses and stuff like that, your poses are generally stronger. When the disadvantage is you have to, clean it up and it's a nightmare sometimes. And your motion becomes less interesting and believable. It kind of has this like almost cartoony, like super like Looney Tune vibe to it if you like push it too hard and you just kind of like snap into A, snap into B, snap into C. But then on the flip side, layering the motion's more interesting and believable and weighted, but then the disadvantage is it can feel soft or your poses are weak. So there's a balance in there, and how do you get that balance? And so I took the approach of, okay, I have to step this, I'm going to do that. Then I play blasted that out as a image or as a movie file. I put it into Presto behind the camera, perfectly flat with the camera. I took all my animation, I deleted it, and then I worked in Spline, pushing the curves into the poses that I had here, so it would have that like clean motion and that more sophisticated level of motion. And it was fun to do it that way. So,
And maybe for both of you, for people who are just kind of like really excited, like, oh, I want to be an animator and I want to do that. And so some of these terms might be new to them. So can maybe Alex, can you really quickly explain what we're talking about here about, layering versus, what is spline? Like, Alex, can you tell us really quick kind of what each of those things are called? And then Tyler or Manuela, like people are like, hey, do you teach this method? Like, and is there just one way to AnimSchool, or can you learn these different methods and why you do? So I'd love to hear Alex, like really quick, let's rapid fire some of these terms like spline and layering and step. Yeah.
Yeah, so a step is basically, as Tyler was saying, is you held your poses. So is you're trying to tell the story bits with the least amount of poses, because you want to make sure you're very clear in what you want to communicate. So step gives you the opportunity to focus on the main moments, because if you go spline, which is everything is already moving at the same time, it can be very distracting. So when I was studying, I relied a lot on stepped. The problem for me is like I was using every single control in the rig at the same time, and then splining that, which is basically the process from, you know, those held poses, they start moving. So your shot is only on once, you know, everything is moving at the same time. So it can be very overwhelming. What I do right now is like, you know, even if you are working directly in a spline, we have the tools to, when you hit play, you can say, okay, I want to play every 2 or every 3 or every 4 frames. So you get the feeling that your shot is in step. But really, behind the tool, your shot is in spline, is moving constantly. But this method allows you to focus on a specific frames, so you can tackle, okay, maybe this pose is not as strong, maybe this area needs more crispy timing. So it's definitely an easier way to handle, you know, because as Tyler said, each method has its own you know, strength, but there's definitely ways to, you know, combine them. I think what you did on this Zootopia shot is very clever, actually, because you know, as you said, you know, the deadlines were a little tight, but you definitely want to retain like this feeling that you held your poses for a little bit. Sometimes you keep alive, sometimes you do like a quick timing shift just to add more interest. But yeah, I think that's very, very interesting to hear.
Yeah, I think this is super, super cool for those of you guys who are interested in animation. It seems like you see that final shot that Tyler worked on in the movie theater, and it is just magic, right? It's just incredible. But like, I hope that you're seeing, you know, and there's a lot of steps, right? Like Tyler was talking about before Tyler even gets the shot. There's been so much thought work by the story artists, by layout, everything. But what's really cool is how much creative, even with all the planning that was given to Tyler, how he was able to add those little micro movements, or the keep alive. Keep alive is those little things that you do to make the character not feel dead and to not overact, right? Like, it's just really incredible to see what Tyler's done. And I was wondering, like, Tyler, based on working on these characters, what do you feel like was the main things that you creatively brought to them, that you, from feeling the sound of the voice, looking at the characters, where were the things that you were able to, as an artist, as a creative, brought to the project that no one told you to?
Yeah, I think real quick, I see a question that says, I thought Presto was a Pixar software.
Yeah.
Did they start using? Yes, we started using Presto. Just wanted to answer that one because
Sure.
Anyway, I think I would probably say the ear flicks on Pauber and all the links is because I have a test that I can show you guys. The ear flicks weren't. This was super early on, like before we started, and I saw Paubert in the VizDev art, and so that's just all like the concept artists, you know, like Corey Loftus, all that stuff. I knew like, and also Nathan Engelhart, who's the supervisor of Paubert. Like I love everything Nathan does. I love his work. It's so inspiring and amazing, and I always just want to learn from Nathan. So it's like, and I'm a cat. Like I am cat versus dog all the way. I'm sorry. I love cats. My personality is a cat. Like, so
That's
when I
awesome.
see cats, I'm like, yes, cats. Nathan's the supervisor of the cat. Like, I want to be on the cat.
Got it.
So, I told them like, I really want to work on this character with you. I'm ready to do some tests or whatever you need. And it was like, okay. And then Chad and Kira, the Hokas of Zootopia, they set up this like Anim Jam for all the animators to do tests. And so I got the Paubert rig and I did this test with him. And I just, from obviously owning a cat my whole life, like you see these mannerisms that cats do, and dogs have their own mannerisms as well, and just animals in general, they have their own things. Let me you could just go back to the other screen,
Okay.
Jesse, and I will grab
We
this
got it.
here. Okay, and so yeah, the ear flicks. I just knew, like, Robert has these big ears that we got to do something with them. Like, I love the first Zootopia. It's my favorite CG movie, like probably next to Ratatouille. They both have their own things that I love about them. But when I saw, like, when I started, I didn't think of this at the time I saw Zootopia. I started thinking this at the time I was like working at Disney. I was like, man, I feel like there could have been more like ear things with the animals, because in general, just animals in general, they have a lot of movements with their ears, twitches and stuff. And Jared was saying that with Pobbert, there was no voice for Pobbert at the time, and his character was a little bit different than it was in the final of the movie. He was a little bit more like laid back, and Jared said he wanted to, because obviously Jared knew he's the villain and he's gonna do the twist. Spoiler if anyone hasn't seen it, I'm sorry. But he wanted to have some type of tick, and I thought it would be cool if we can incorporate the ear flicks with some type of insecurity or lie or something with Pobbert. These ears are so big, and so I started doing more research with on YouTube with animals and cats in general, because cats, when they have these like super twitchy micro movements with their ears, and then obviously if you like scream or there's loud noises, their ears just tuck back and they go back, and they flatten. But caracals, which are desert lynxes, they have this very, very unique, specific like flap with the ears, and in slow motion, it looks like they move so fast that you kind of believe it's normal speed when it's in slow motion, that it almost looks like they're going to fly with these ears. And playing at speed, it's really fast at these things that they do, these whips. And so I really wanted to get that and explore it and see what Jared would think about that. And so, yeah. And then I added like a cat lick too with because he's a cat, so I thought it would be funny if he could, how would he drink? It's not going to just be like a sip; he's going to lick it. But yeah, here we go.
Scott Squibbles or Squishy, he's a kind of, soft, chubby guy, with a hat, and he's been living with his mom for a long time, and he just kind of stays in that kind of sheltered way. Scott?
Oh, bravo. Oh my gosh, you guys. That's incredible. And I'll put a link to Tyler's Instagram if you guys want to see that test. That is so fun. Tyler,
Yeah,
what was like? Oh yeah, Alex.
sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you play, if you pay close attention to this shot, it's like you find where those moments where you add that animalistic little instinct to your character, but at the same time, it's not an animal. It's like a character itself. So you did a fantastic job balancing, choosing specific attributes from the animal instinct and to broad them and combine them with the character that you're portraying. And something that is really cool from Disney, I feel, is like they give you time to think. So you have like a lot of time to experiment, think, and this test, like our pre-production, is like all spaghetti to the wall. You do a lot of things, you see what sticks, what works, what doesn't work. And I feel like this is an example of a very successful way of, pushing the limits and adding, little things from real life and combining them in a very creative way. So I think that's something that students can apply in their shots, and that really, really makes a difference.
Tyler, when you did this shot, like, what was the reaction? Like, this is just so fun. Yeah, what kind of happened once people saw this?
I think everyone had a very positive reaction. Actually, Jared really liked this because we had a bunch of Pobert tests, and we were showing all of them to Jared, and there was groups of people, right? So there was people working on Pobert, there was people working on Gary, there was people working on, the Nibbles and the Pinnipeds and Nick and Judy, and so certain days of the week, those groups were going to Jared to show him, like, okay, what's kind of feeling right here. And so when we took all the Pobert tests to Jared, he did land on this one as it being the most like in the pocket of Pobert. Again, there was no voice for him yet, but he said the ear flicks were the things that he liked a lot, and the lick. They actually put a lick shot in the movie, but it ended up getting cut before it even got animated. So yeah, he really responded well to the lick, and I think the reaction was overall great because Nathan as well liked the cat like specificness to it. Also, like the hand doing this, it was a combination of me trying to fit his like goofy, lovable, laid back character, also into the Lynx mannerism, because I didn't know this about lynxes, but this is also why I think it's really good to do your research, because lynxes are different than just cats. Like cats in general is a big thing, and then you can dive into like a caracal or a Canadian lynx, and those are different. So Canadian, and he's a Canadian lynx specifically. So Canadian lynxes, they do this thing with their paws where they'll just flick it like very aggressively in a sitting position, and it does look a little weird. And so I wanted to get that like this also with that and try to use that, and then also the head shake at the end. Like a lot of animals will do that, they'll shake their head, but I did see a video of a lynx doing that. So yeah, I was just trying to like again pepper as much cat stuff I can to see, like Alex was saying, spaghetti at the wall. What's gonna stick here? This is kind of like a free time to do too much, and then see what lands. So yeah, that's kind of.
And since we have both of you here, and thank you so much for that, was incredible. What a cool like insight into how it works. And Tyler and Alex, you guys are working on different things. How do you, when you are both animators on it, working on different things, how do you guys feel as a team? Like, how does it feel to, even today, like when you worked on a project, there's a lot of people. What's the culture like? What are maybe some tips and tricks people can have about how to survive, thrive, have a good life work balance in a place like Disney or others? Do you guys have just some life skills for us, or some tips that way? I think Manuel and I are excited to hear about that.
Yeah, Alex, you want to go first?
Yep. So I think the most impressive thing to me is that everyone wants you to succeed. It's like everyone is willing to help you. So that's the number one thing. Everyone's super humble, super helpful. And then another very cool tool to have in the studio is like we're able to see every submission that artists are doing. So for example, when Tyler was working on this and then he submitted the playlist to review, I'm able to see it before review. So, imagine like all these fantastic artists just publishing different tests at the same time, and then you're able to see all this work in progress. It helps you like kind of gain like a more broad picture of what's being tried with this character. And also, another very important thing that helped me a lot during Zootopia was the incredible drawovers that you would get over your animation. So we had like a 2D, lead person, like that if you weren't too comfortable with your pose, or if you were if you were feeling like, oh, maybe this character is feeling too human still, but I don't know what to do, you had the ability to ask for a drawer on your pose or on your animation, and manning really, really, really levels how the shot is moving on. So I feel like the people and the tools that you have at your disposal, and the iterations that you do in your shots are, it's like next level for me. It's something that I really, cherish.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Alex said a lot of great things about like everyone wanting you to succeed and help out. It's amazing. It's so inspiring to see like everyone doing what they do at their craft, and it makes you want to get better. Um, I think it's obvious. Like obviously, just you know how to work with people. That's a skill that is useful across any industry. It doesn't matter what you want to do. It could be, being an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, whatever it is. Like you're gonna work with people. So, understanding that you have to navigate around that. And there's so many, another thing that's actually really important is there's so many moving parts that you may not understand why something is happening. And it might be making your life harder for the moment, but in the grand scheme of things, it's actually happening because of this or that. And just understanding that it's like, again, we're this, we're a cog in this watch of many cogs making this watch tick. So, yeah.
And maybe here's a hard thing that people want to know is like, how do you guys think, or what have you guys seen in terms of breaking into it, right? Like, I think it is really awesome that you guys got into Disney, and I think there's a lot of people like, hey, I'm Disney or bust. And I think Disney is amazing, but it's not the only studio. What would you guys give advice to people who want to work at Disney or maybe want to work there someday? Is it the only studio they can apply for, Pixar? I just love to hear your kind of point of view on what the right route is. Is there a right route to get started? What do you guys think?
Yeah, so I think there's obviously a lot of places you can work, and even in games, like it doesn't always have to be, feature, because games do have cinematics, which that allows for acting as well, and it's not just actual gameplay animation. So I think, and there's freelance too, like freelance, that has its own pros and cons to it, and like it's the projects are usually smaller, easier. You have more weight on your shoulders. Sometimes the projects pay more, but like then you might run dry. The project ends, and then you might go 3 or 4 weeks before finding the next project. So that's its pros and cons with freelance and that. But I think it's definitely not Disney or bust or Pixar or bust. Like I didn't know I was going to work at Disney. I quit my job before and left that whole like finance, economic, business stuff before knowing I was going to do it. I just knew, like, for me, it again, this is personal taste. It's just for me, like, I valued doing what I love more than money. So I had a job. I could have just stayed working there. I had no idea how much money you make or whatever as an animator. I didn't care. I was just like, I can't do this job every day. This was hard for me to wake up every day and go in. It was painful. Now it's like I do what I love. Like I'm characters in cartoons and putting performances in polygons. Like to me, it's you do it because you love it, and it's a passion, and it sparks. And there's so much I've learned about just myself at Disney and what I value, and it has shifted since I worked at Disney. And I think the ability to like create and inspire is so meaningful and important. I can talk about that for hours. But yeah, I think it doesn't really matter like if you animate at Disney or not, or Pixar or not, or DreamWorks or Sony. Like, yes, those are all great studios, but again, there's so many other studios that you can work at and do freelance work or game work, and you could eventually get there. You know, it's really about are you doing what you love, and if you are, then enjoy the journey. Like that's and for in terms of like how do you break in or how do you get a job, just be truthful to you and be specific. Like that's, you have experiences in life and those are specific to you, and I feel like if you bring those forward to your work, it will make you stand out and it will shine and people will see it. But if you try to copy someone else's stuff because you're like it, you know, oh, I like what they're doing, it's interesting to me, I want to be them, but you don't know their experience, you don't know why they're doing it. So if you kind of try to, you can take inspiration from it, but if you go too far and try to do too much that's almost like replicating them, it's not going to feel truthful at all, and it's not going to be specific because you don't really know why they're doing it. So you're going to miss on the little nuances. So I just think be truthful to yourself and be specific in your performances and your animation, and I think everything will kind of guide you to where you need to be. And I'm just going to say this one little thing before I'll let Alex say what he has to say. But you were mentioning luck at the beginning of the talk, and one of the animators at Disney said this to me when we were having a conversation, that luck favors the prepared, and it was really cool to hear, and it stuck with me because I think that's a very interesting statement. So
Yeah, and if I can mention that a little bit more, of course, like we're very excited at AnimSchool to have both of you here, and that's why we are doing AnimSchool. Is there's lots of, I love that Tyler brought this up. There's lots of ways to make a living, and there's lots of things you can do in your life. But the animation community is amazing. I really loved hearing you guys talk, like Alex especially, right? Like it's a good group of people. It's a fun group of people. It's really hard, but it's so rewarding. And that's why I've attached myself to the animation industry and community, because that's where all my friends are. The people that make me laugh, that make me cry, the people I interact with, the AnimSchool and the animation industry are like my favorite people in the whole world. And I loved how, Tyler, you're like, hey, like I could make a living doing something else, but this is what was like, interesting to you. And I don't know, I just really loved what you said there. And, you know, that's what we're trying to do at AnimSchool is like, I think a lot of people want to break into this community, and there's a lot of things that you want to do that kind of feel like gatekeepy, right? Like, hey, I really want to do this kind of thing, but you don't know where to start. And you 100%, and many people have done this, can do this on their own. You can become an animator just by going and figuring it out 100%. And many people have done that. You might have gone to a brick and mortar school and then gone, you know, like, I need to go find a mentor. I need to go find a friend. What I think is cool about AnimSchool, and I'd love to hear Manuela's and everyone's thoughts on this, and go back to Alex, is like, I think AnimSchool is so great is that it is an artist-run school. Our CEO, David Gallagher, is an artist. Like he worked at Blue Sky for many, many years. Like we're an artist-led school. So we know how hard it was to get into the industry. And so our whole goal at AnimSchool is to create an environment that gets you what you need. At the end of the day, it's just a reel. It's just a portfolio. Like we have grades, schools have grades. No one cares about your grades. They care about your work. And the whole way it's set up is that we want to have students come to us just like Tyler did. And we look at what they want to do, and we just help push them that way. And it is a lot of like personal responsibility. That's too. It's just if you go to AnimSchool and you don't really put in the work, or you don't, and you aren't like applying 6 times and you aren't doing that like that, you're gonna have a hard time. But it's not like a cheat code, but we can tell you what to watch out for. We can look at what you're doing and really like hone, hey, maybe you should do video game animation, which we teach. Maybe you should do rigging. Maybe you should do modeling. Maybe you just want to join the animation industry and then you change your mind. We kind of have a way to do that. So yeah, thanks for letting me blab a little bit. I'll give it back to you, Alex, and then even Manuela. Kind of, I just had to comment on what Tyler said. It like got me excited. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything Tyler said is gold. It's all
It's
about
gold.
enjoying the journey. You don't want to go from 1 to 10. There's so many numbers between, and it's like baby steps. But all the people, even if you ask me what's the best thing of being at Disney, I'd say it's the people. Is all these great artists that they share a passion together. I remember one time a colleague asked me, how do you stay motivated? And that's also a very important topic. And I told him, like, well, if you go to a Disney park and you stay long enough to see the late night show, you will see families gathering. We'll see people screaming, people crying, people hugging each other, watching all these animation that are now legacy. And when you think about it, it's like, oh my God, I'm part of this. It's like I remember, when a part of Moana came to the show, and the people were just screaming so much. And at that time, we were doing Moana, and it felt so powerful. Even when you go to the cinema, and your shot comes and people laugh, that's I cannot explain the feeling. It's so rewarding. And another big thing that I could say to students is, uh, because sometimes it's a little hard to break in the industry. It depends on every situation, but how do you make your work stand out a little more? I remember Nathan Engelhart. He taught me one of the most valuable lessons that I've heard. And he said like this thing: let's find your way into the shop. And to give you a quick example, when we were doing Moana, Moana has to leave, and she has to leave her sister behind. When we were doing that movie, my wife was living in another country, and sometimes she would ask like, why do you have to leave? And if you think about it, that's very hard to answer. And Moana was in the same situation. And I remember I've got a couple of shots with her, and Moana was right next to her sister, and she just couldn't understand why do you have to leave. So I feel like my shots got a little bit more real because I was experiencing the same thing. So when you do the same thing in your work, I don't know, man, it just becomes real for some reason. And then that's why all these Disney movies, like, they are so powerful to the people, because they go straight to the heart. But that's only because the artist has story behind. That's why it's so important to live, to experience life, to experience the world. The more you travel, the more people the more items you can grab and steal and bring them to your work, and to really really take it to the next level.
It's awesome. And Manuela, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on
Well, I'm very inspired. It's amazing to hear. I feel like one thing that's very special about the animation community is that everyone is in the animation community because they want to. They love what they do, and it really shows. What Alex was saying, like about like relating to something and putting your experience into it. I feel like that's what also make like movies so special. Like each animator puts a part of their life or something they relate to, like their personal experiences into it, and that's what makes it special. And I think it's a great way to stand out. I would like to ask you, like Tyler and Alex, do you have like any final advice on how to stand out to studios, or how to actually get the dream job?
Yeah, like I said, just being specific and truthful to you, bringing character specificity to the center of your animation is definitely going to stand out, and putting yourself into your shot some way, somehow, that will stand out for us. We see that stuff and we can tell.
Yeah, I totally agree. When you see something specific, like something that is very unique that tells me who you are as a person, as an artist, like uh it, as I was saying before, you when you're doing a portfolio, it's like you're also kind of creating your identity, which I feel is very, very important. And even if you do like if you grab like moments of life that are super boring, but you tell them on a very particular way, if your shot has something very special in it, then suddenly it just it stands out from the rest of shots that are just very common, very using the same thing over and over again. It's okay to use the same things, but as long as you do maybe a creative repetition, uh it's really, really, really like doing the research. I feel like this whole talk has been, you could see what specific ideas Tyler did to trying his shots, like the ear thing, the licking thing. All these things are like so specific, so creative, and yet are so common for us to see. But when you put that in a shot, and in a specific way, then it really becomes special. So I think my best advice to students is like, do that, do your research, do that experimenting, and try to be very specific to what you do.
I loved hearing from both of you, Alex and Tyler, so much in that, we're thinking about like what is it that, it's like working in a studio. And I think this is really a great example when we're talking about the work that Tyler did on Lynxes is that there was all this work that was done before it was given to him. But because of his love of cats, this was great. I think this was the best thing I heard, actually, which is, how do I stand out? Well, you really have to go, what do I like? What makes me excited? And when Tyler had that opportunity, it sounds like there was a lot of people that put their touch on it, right? You said that there was lots of tests. Well, why did Tyler stand out? Is that I think because he loves cats, he did the work to really observe and take everything that he had and put it into that character enough that it was undeniable the way they were going to go. It wasn't necessarily like written anywhere before. It was like people prepared the way, and then Tyler just like cemented that animation, that feeling that you got from a cat, and then put it into the human character, even before you had the final voice. That's what's so cool, is before you even know who the voice actor was. Like you said, it was a later thing and he believed in it so much too, which is this was the cool thing, which is you go, I'm going to work in animation. It's going to be hard. You were at the very end of the project and you just said, I'll get it done. Right? Like, you're willing to do that. It is a sacrifice, right, Tyler? Right? Because you go like, well, how do I get these really major characters? There is this sounds hard, but there is amount of sacrifice. This isn't like an easy breezy career necessarily.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about that, Tyler. Like, how do you do that? Because it's like, oh, I want to be given that shot. Are you just gonna be given it unless something happens? Like, Tyler, how did you do that?
Yeah, they definitely, like, especially when it comes down to like 4 weeks left, 3 weeks left type stuff. Like, it's not personal. It's definitely like, we need to trust the people that we know who can finish it or not. So, obviously, if you are looking to get characters or something, you would be talking to them much earlier in advance to make sure you can kind of get yourself set up, because again, they do want you to succeed. But if you were to come to them during the middle of crunch, 5 weeks left, saying, hey, can I get this shot? And they don't know if you can do it, they might not give it to you. Not, again, because it's a personal thing, but just because they really need to, they don't have, there's millions of dollars in this movie. Like, they don't have time to gamble. But like I said, I just think it was from the beginning and of the production, just showing what I'm interested in to gain that trust, and just also letting them know, I was letting my production soup know from the beginning, like, I'm gonna do as much overtime as you will give me. So it's an optional thing. Like, you don't have to do 72 hours, 80 hours a week. I was one of the few who did because I wanted to. And there was a sacrifice because of that. It's like my wife at home, and so she didn't see me at all, really, for almost 45 days. And so it's like, again, I put that on myself, and I've learned from it. There's things I will change moving forward and not do. But again, like, this is kind of a labor of love. And if you want something, you do have to, like, really work hard to get it. So
yeah, and so that's kind of the point, right? Like, we're not saying a studio's necessarily going to require you to do that, but I'm saying if you're going, I have the dream of being a star animator, just kind of the way that you've seen Alex and Tyler talk about what it takes to be, if you want to be at a major level, that's kind of what it takes. And it's exactly what Tyler said, which is they never would have given him those shots unless he had proven over time at the beginning of the project that when I give Tyler something or I give Alex something, that you deliver it and that you take good feedback. So you've built up all those soft skills, you had everything there. And then when the time came, you had told them very clearly, this is professionalism. I can do this. I will do this. And that's why they're more likely to give it to you, because they believe you, because you have built up that trust. Now, what I like about AnimSchool is that you get little mini versions of this every 11 weeks. So you start at class 1. It doesn't matter if you're an intro to Maya. You should start acting like this. If you want to go to AnimSchool, it's not a hobby school. It's a way to become like Alex and Tyler, which is from class 1 to class 7. Every class is your chance to kind of feel like you're on a production, except you get to kind of be the more creative on it. We're not telling you what shot to do. Like when we talk about, like we were showing Tyler shots at AnimSchool, you were seeing with Ignacio. Those are the shots that Tyler picked that he wanted to do. And then he had pros looking at it and saying, if this was my junior artist, this is my junior animator, this is how it helped them with the shot. So you're getting a test run of almost like a mock studio experience. And then there's no, like I said, if you want to have that good reel at the end, we can't make you have that, but we are going to have bars for you to jump across that are a level of professional at each level. And like Tyler was working with Manuela on that. Like that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, we don't have any secrets. We're trying to teach you what we do. And so I think it's just really cool to see it in the way that Tyler did. I know we've gone to a point where we're going to open it to like Q&A, but Tyler or Alex, anything else to say about that in terms of like someone who wants to? Again, there's lots of options. I think you should look at everything online or brick and mortar, but I always think the best thing to do is look at the work that's being produced. It's what Tyler said at the beginning. He went to AnimSchool because he saw the showcase. It wasn't like that's what made him come here, was he saw the showcase, and that's what got you in. But Tyler, like, do you have any or Alex, like maybe guidance to someone who wants to actually get educated, like what kind of student they should be? Or
I could touch on that. I just kind of wanted to backtrack and touch on what you were saying, and then maybe Alex can piggyback off of what I'm about to say. But back to the sacrificing and doing a lot of hours and all that stuff. And again, this is very specific to like feature films. It's not this crazy on other, smaller studios. But if you, I will say, like, the reward of seeing your work on screen and seeing the impact it has on people, to me, it's worth it. So that's why you do it. I know it sounds like pretty insane to, you might be thinking, this is ridiculous. I have no interest in working, 72 hours a week. And like I said, it's not required. You don't have to work 72 hours a week. I chose to do that. But there is going to be overtime sometimes where you have to, for 3 months out of the year, you're going to have to maybe work 50 hours a week. So you do 10 hours of overtime. Again, it's never required, but they will really appreciate if you can. But if you're like, absolutely, I'm not doing it, then that's possible. But again, the reward of getting to see your work on screen is incredible and unlike any other experience. But if you want to touch and expand on that, Alex, you can, and then we can go back to the AnimSchool student question.
Yeah, for sure. I have to touch on one thing you said, which is this: is animation. If you're going to try to do an animation and you want to be a star, this is kind of the level we're talking about. Is as an artist myself, if you want to do something that everyone gets excited about, it is a lot of work, and again, it's not required for that. And so that's kind of my takeaway from that, Tyler, is if you want to make a huge impact, and I'm saying as an audience member myself, when I left the theater, the first thing I did when I turned to my wife and kids was, man, I loved the Lynxes so much. And of course I loved the voice and everything, but it was those mannerisms. So I didn't even know Tyler did them. And I think these little flicks that we're seeing here, this is why I'm excited about. For me, it was the standout thing, was I felt like their mannerisms felt so cat-like that's what transported me. It's what immersed me into this show more than anything else, was the animation. These little things you added, Tyler, is the first thing that I mentioned to my wife, and I didn't even know you did that. So that sacrifice that you made on that, not seeing your wife, had me as an audience member later on go, that was the coolest thing in the whole movie. And I didn't even know you do that. So I wanted to do that through line of, you sacrifice that, we put it out in the world, and then people see it. And I'm telling you right now, that was the thing I liked about it. And so it comes through. It's amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah, it also depends on the show. Like, not every show is like super crazy. Like sometimes you barely do overtime, sometimes you do a lot of overtime. But when you're doing overtime, you see the whole studio coming together. It's like everyone is working so hard. It's like the focus, man, is just on the bigger picture. And all this passion is just contagious. It's like sometimes the day went by, I was working 12 hours and I just didn't feel it because it's so entertaining, that you also have to, sometimes make a pause and step away from the computer, and the next day come back, and then you see like a lot of mistakes that you didn't see in your shot, because sometimes we get stuck looking at the shot for so many hours in a row that your eye tricks you. You no longer see the mistakes that you might see on fresh eyes. I love doing overtime, to be honest. But even now, it's we're on a Saturday, man. I'm already excited for Monday to go back and keep animating at the studio. It's I love what I do. I see the impact that it has on people, and man, it's a ride, man. It's a ride. It's just an incredible opportunity that we have to work in films.
Yeah, actually, sorry, I need to jump on that as well, because that reminded me of something that I haven't thought of in a while. When I was in Canada working on Hotel T4, this is my first animation project job ever, out of AnimSchool. And the borders were closed, so I was there by myself. I remember being disappointed that it was Saturday, because I just wanted it to be Monday so I can just animate again, because it was like, it's Saturday. I can't do anything. Everything's closed. Like, I guess I can just watch TV or FaceTime, my wife and friends. It's like, which I would do, but it was like, I got to do this Saturday and Sunday. And then it's like, I was always like so excited to go to work on Monday, or like go to work, log in on Monday. And that never existed before animation. So I thought that was very interesting that I was so thrilled to wake up on a Monday, because it's like, yes, I get a whole new week of animating. It's super inspiring. Like what you said about everyone's doing the overtime. It's like, yeah, it's hard, but everyone's doing it. You're not by yourself. It's like you're all in this together. And it's only like that for a small period of the year, and it's not like that every project either.
Yeah, and
and
after the show, there comes a downtime. So it's like the studio is very good. They give you enough time to rest,
Yeah.
to travel, to enjoy life. So I feel like Disney in particular is one of those studios that there's obviously high standard, high pressure sometimes, but once the movie is out and we celebrate the work together, they give you enough time to just sit back, relax, enjoy life, gather new experiences, and then be ready for the next movie to come and give the best of you.
Yeah. And something else I want to say is that AnimSchool, we're really excited, and this is something I really love about Tyler. And go follow his Instagram. As he's one of those animators that I love that is working on their 2D art, that's working on their concept art. And so we were showing, if you saw earlier, some cool fan art from the movie worked on, which was super cool. But want to let you know, when you sign up for AnimSchool, we want to have you graduate as artists. So one of the benefits you get at AnimSchool is our free art classes. And you mentioned that you worked on Hotel Transylvania 2. Is every term we Hotel Transylvania 4. Every term we actually bring in professionals from the industry, and you see with your class you get free art classes every term from an industry pro. So we've had Michael Knapp, we've had Steven Silver, we've had Ben Eblin, and I teach digital painting and sketchbook class. And I remember I was on Instagram, and I followed Derek Drymond, who was the director on Hotel Transylvania 4, because he sketches every single day. And I just said, hey, would you come talk to my sketchbook class? And he did, and it was super, super cool. So what's really fun about going to AnimSchool is that you are going to be exposed to all kinds of people in the industry, and they're going to tell you, you can ask them questions, what it's like. So we have people from TV, game, animation, every term that teach you these extra skills. And I was wondering, like, Tyler, could you talk a little bit about like the importance of some of these extra things that some people think they don't need? Like, I'd love to hear you guys talk about like the importance of drawing. And we're having a lot of questions. We're going to open it up to people, but there's a lot of people scared about AI. And so why do you guys think it's still important to learn art and to learn how to animate, when there are people who are saying, oh, we don't need animators anymore, like AI is going to do everything? So that's a big topic, but like, why go learn this if we're going to be replaced?
Yeah. So the two questions: the drawing, is drawing good? Does it help? And then why learn this? And is it AI? The drawing one, I have like a really silly analogy. If you're familiar with Avengers Infinity War and Thanos and the Infinity Stones, so like you have like all the little things of animation, like, so you got animation, story, lighting, layout, rigging, modeling, like those are the stones. So like animation is like the time stone, right? It takes a long time to animate. So time stone. Soul stone is story, because story comes from the soul. Like rigging is the mind stone, because you have to be super smart to rig and do coding. And then you have like modeling is the reality stone, because you're making things appear in this software. And lighting is the space stone, because you can light space and all that stuff. the drawing is the power stone, in my opinion. So it amplifies any other stone. So the ability to draw, you don't need them. You don't need it to do the other thing. Okay. But if you can draw, it will just make whatever you're working on just that much better and that much more powerful. And you will just have a lot more ways of handling whatever you need to do. So that's why I think drawing is super important. I think it's, again, there's many animators at Disney who can't draw and they're phenomenal. But it's usually they're phenomenal because they're just so good at acting, you know. But then and they do the acting shots, you know. They won't do the like super graphic dynamic shots, but it's still there's people who, you know, they know what a good drawing looks like. So it's like, even though they say they can't draw, it's like I'm sure they could actually, you know, do.
Yeah, they're like curate. They know they are curators of life, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about the illusion of life, you can learn the illusion of life through observation. Just because you don't want to draw doesn't mean you can't have those skills. But I amen to everything Tyler said. I agree.
And they can still point out a good drawing versus a bad drawing. So I just feel like knowing how to draw is very important if you want to accelerate your skills. And, you know, if you're looking for one answer on, you know, out of the multitude of answers of like, how do I break into the industry? Well, one is, can you draw, and how well can you draw? Because if you can draw really well, that's one step ahead of your neighbor, you know. And it's like, if you look at Formula One racing, there's 20 drivers in Formula One, and they're the fastest drivers in the world. There's 20 of them. And if you want to be in Formula One racing, you have to be faster than the top 20 drivers in the world. Like, it's so hard you have to be 1,000th of a second faster than number 20 to get into number 20 and replace number 20. So it's like, you have to like find ways to distinct yourself and give yourself an advantage. And if you're not willing to take off every single way and angle to give yourself that advantage, then it's like, I'm not sure why the question is there. You know, it's like, why ask the question if you don't want to take every advantage possible? So
another cool advice is also, you can draw on top of your animation. So it's like, you don't have to start from zero, right? There are a lot of times where I do like a rough blocking, and I choose like some specific poses that I think are really cool. And once I start drawing on top of them, I see a lot of choices that I didn't do before, or that I didn't contemplate it, just by manipulating the rig itself. So I feel like that 2D component, or the 2D background, gives you more opportunities, like more it's like a whole new world that you apply on top of your actual work. So it definitely helps out. You don't have to be the super master of drawing, because you know, you have your shot, you have your rig. You can just push it. It's like, don't stop on a post that you think is cool. There's so many ways that you can improve it by doing iteration. And I feel like iteration on your own work definitely makes difference.
Yeah. And quickly to add, you know, we are working with 3D rigs and the 3D software, but at the end of the day, it's being delivered on a flat screen. So it is 2D. It is still a drawing. Like, if I pause anywhere on the showcase here, these are drawings. Okay. They have depth to them because they're in a 3D software, but they are drawings, and you could literally put a piece of paper over this, trace it, and then you have a drawing. So it's like, if you think of it as a drawing, which that helped me a lot when I was in AnimSchool, is thinking of it more as a drawing instead of this 3D rig, then you can, again, like Alex was saying, you draw over your stuff and you can get much stronger shapes.
And when you also say, if you're in the studio and you have a supervisor, you're going to get draw over. So unless you can really like understand what a gesture is, which is a very like artistic term, like the flow, that S curve or the flow of a movement, if you're learning how to draw that, even if you're not like the greatest artist, if you're just learning how to understand that, you're going to go, you have a lot easier time.
Yeah.
And also I think it'll help you in your career. Let's say you become a supervisor and then you need to help people do their shots better. How much better if you know how to draw to explain how they can do and mentor a shot better. So you're going to have a higher advantage to stay in the industry longer if you can move up from junior to a mid to a supervisor. Being able to draw is going to help you a lot. Yeah. Now to that second question, we should all just pack it up. Artists are done. AI is taking all that. What do you guys have to say about that? Like, why learn this anymore? If this is maybe like already seen, oh, well, this is an old way of doing animation. Why still learn this stuff? Why go to AnimSchool or any school anymore?
Yeah. So it's obviously tricky.
That's a big question.
It's a very tricky question to answer. I'm gonna say right now, I don't have all the answers. I don't think anyone does. I'm not going to be able to predict what happens, but what I can say is a few things. It is different from mocap. It's not the same. So I know there's that caveat. However, when mocap came out, everyone freaked out, lost their mind, said, character animation is done. It's not, okay? Mocap took its spot alongside of everything else. It's used for certain things. So maybe AI will take its spot and used for certain things. At these studios like Pixar, DreamWorks, Sony, Disney, Illumination, they don't use mocap. They're not interested in that. That's not what they want. They get a different feeling out of the performances. They get a much richer, more impactful performance from character animation, character animators. And mocap is used for other things, which is fine. So maybe AI will have a spot. I don't know. Another thing is AI is, to me, there's nothing interesting about a computer spitting out an image to me. I don't care if that came from a computer. It doesn't do anything to me. But when a human in front of me, like I go to work and I say, hey, Renato, can you draw me a rhino? And he draws a rhino, and I'm watching this human deliver this magnificent drawing that's coming out of his mind, and he's not looking at anything, and it's just being delivered on the page, and I'm watching it happen in real time. And there's so much character to it, and there's small mistakes in it that make it unique to Renato. I don't think there's any mistakes. It's perfect to me. But Renato sees mistakes because it's him. He's critical to his own work. That to me is what makes it so impactful and so amazing to see. Like, it's like the game of chess. Chess is bigger than it ever has been. And when chess came out, or when Garry Kasparov was the world champion, he lost Deep Blue, which is a chess computer, in 1994, or 3 or 5, I don't remember, somewhere around the 90s.
Yeah.
They said chess was done.
It's done.
It's the world game, right? It's because you don't speak during chess. You do tournaments and you're not supposed to talk. So anyone from any part of the world can use their knowledge to play anyone else. There's no language barrier. So that's why chess is so great, and it's one of the oldest games ever. So they said chess would be done because of an engine, because a computer can beat a human, then there's no point in playing the game. Now you look at chess and nobody cares about watching two computers play. It's going to end in a draw. We already know the outcome. We don't care. We want to see grandmasters play against grandmasters. We want to see who's going to make the mistake and how is the other person going to capitalize off the mistake. They make almost no errors, but that little bit of human error is what makes the game interesting, because we don't know what's going to happen. So to me, like AI, it can replace any job. It's already showing that it can replace even doctors based on its, ability to do surgery, and it can replace accountants because it can basically make no mistake ever, and it can replace. It's like, if we're gonna play the card of like, why should I even try? It's like, well, I mean, for me, it's I don't care if I'm not going to let a computer stop me from doing what I want to do. So even if it's like there's no more animation jobs, I'm going to be at home, I'm going to draw, I'm going to inspire myself, I'm going to create. Like I'm not going to let something prohibit me has nothing to do with me from doing what I want to do. That inspires me and makes me get better as an individual and grow as a person and all that stuff. So I understand the fear. Like I said, like I see stuff from AI and I'm like, geez, that's before you can't tell, you could easily tell it was AI, but now it's like it's getting hard to tell. But at the same time, there's always something about it that is off. And it's like, also in terms of the image generations, it's like it has a very specific look, in my opinion, that it's like there's like soul missing in the drawings and stuff, and even the motion. And I don't know, can it get to it looking indistinguishable? Maybe. But at the same time, it's like I don't know where that takes us. At that point, I can't really answer what happens. What happens if AI becomes, so good that we can't tell the difference? Then I feel like we have a bigger problem on our hands.
Yeah, and if I can, you said some things that are really important, and I hope that if you guys look back on even just the last, this talk and learning about the pipeline of how Tyler kind of took what his love of cats, his love of animation, and other people tried, how do we find this character? Those all people led, and you use tools for that. Like you use computer tools for that. And through the history of animation, we've always had tools. I don't know. It's really good. If you guys go back and look at Snow White, every Disney princess was rotoscoped. I don't know if you guys know what rotoscoped is. We were talking about drawings, right? Every Disney princess, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, they are rotoscoped. That means they just traced over characters. Something happened later on. We call it the golden age of animation with Glenn Keane. Little Mermaid is the first princess that wasn't rotoscoped. And so, again, we're talking about like tools and aesthetics. And what I saw Tyler do on Zootopia is very much a stylistic, artistic choice. And I even if AI and tools get better, it's guaranteed that animation tools are going to change. And so the better thing to be is a lover of that's why it's really good to think about that term, illusion of life. Like, what is the thing that we can observe in this beautiful earth and beautiful movement that we as humans experience and then can put out there? So even if AI gets really, really good, it is going to be an average of everything. That's really cool. But how do you make it stand out? I bet when people did their first takes on these things, they probably are a little bit average. And then it's when you plus it. And so what Tyler and Alex do is that they're really like curating something that's very human driven. And so I don't know what's going to happen either. But what I think is good is by learning the fundamentals, which we teach at AnimSchool, you shouldn't fear about the future. Like, you will learn tools and they'll always change. But the fundamentals and being a human and storytelling will be the thing that make you successful, and to be in the same rooms as Alex and Tyler and Manuela and with your best friends where you want to be. That's what I feel is so cool about the animation industry. And it's not going away. Do not get scared of it. But it is going to be a lot of hard work. That's the truth. Whether there was AI or not, it's a lot of hard work.
Jesse, if just to add really quick, I just wish that everyone could be present in the review rooms that we have at the studio, because when you're in rounds and you have your supervisors, you have the head of animation, you have this amazing group of people reviewing the work, and it's that collaboration, the iteration, the soul that the artist put. I mean, I can put to words how many special things are born in these review rooms. And it's only born because of the collective work of these people that share passion that cannot be replaced. And the thing about big studios is like they want to do new content. They want to do specific, very unique experiences for the audience, and that's only possible because of the artists behind all the ideas. All the we're the ones putting the all of our stories, all of our collective knowledge. And we don't want to build anything that looks generic. We want to build new worlds for people. And I feel like that's something that AI can try to do, but as Tyler said, I don't see soul in these things. And when I go to see a movie is because the feelings that I get watching these Pixar, Disney, Sony movies, I cannot put it to words. It's something very special.
And one last thing that I kind of want to just say about AI is if you look at all the popular things that are coming from AI right now in terms of generative content and videos that's having a lot of buzz or excitement, it's all from human created content that AI is basically making a video of someone or a character doing. So it's like none of it is original from AI. It's all like, Zootopia characters doing this, or Star Wars characters doing this, or Avengers characters doing this, or Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise fighting. It's like these are real people. These are human things that AI is basically making things of these characters you haven't seen do. And so it's like this is all stemming off of human content. So
that's
far,
the man behind the curtain thing, right? Like,
yeah.
It's all human led at the end of the day, and so don't get fooled. I'm not. We again, Tyler, you said we don't know what's going to happen with it, but that's where I think it's still important to learn. People are like, oh, should I just straight go to maybe someone who's saying like, why should I just go learn AI? Why not just go to an AI school? Why would you recommend maybe learning how to draw over that? That's maybe what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah, because you obviously need to know the fundamentals. You need to know how things work. You got like if you want to work on cars, you have to know how a car is made. Like you can't just go and you can't just go make like superchargers for a car and not know how an engine works, So it's like that's kind of how I see it is and there's only so much. I just feel like a lot of how do I figure this out? There's a lot of studios that they're not letting their AI. They're exploring the idea of AI trained models, but again, there's so much that the AI trained models is not learning from and not getting from that it's like you don't know where this is going. It just feels a little bit ambiguous to me, and there are almost no laws right now. It's like, what if? I mean, the Supreme Court just ruled that you cannot copyright it. This was a few years ago, so that's going to change where businesses take their money. If they can't get any copyright from it, they don't own it, so they can't make money off of it. And so it's like, if that's one thing that just came out. I don't know if more laws are going to come out that kind of restrict it. Who knows? So to me, it's like I'm not trying to learn Photoshop so I can use Photoshop to make a bunch of drawings. I'm going to go learn how to draw so I can take any software and draw.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to pick drawings off of the internet and then make a Frankenstein in Photoshop. I want to go learn how to draw and create my own things that I want to create.
That's a really good point. And at AnimSchool, let's say like we use Maya, which is industry standard. But we want you to know, once you graduate, you might go to a studio that has proprietary software. Well, oh no, I didn't learn this at AnimSchool. What? So what? You learn the fundamentals, and you learned how to learn a software. So once you've learned how to learn a software, you know I can learn another software. So by going through this, whatever comes, which I said, I was trying to illustrate with the rotoscoping to other things. Animation, if you want to get into it, just know that you're going to have to be a lifelong learner. But that's awesome, because learning for your whole life is rad. I don't know what's going to play out with AI. I know it's going to get incorporated into pipelines. You might have to use some of it or something else, and you can ethically choose what studios you want to be with. I think there's going to be plenty that there might be like a 2D animation like renaissance that happens as a result of more AI stuff. We don't know what's going to happen, but you'll always have to have those AI tools. I mean, this is a conversation go on forever and ever, but what I hope you've seen today is that this is awesome. It's doable. You can do this. If you want this, there are people like Tyler, like Alex, like AnimSchool, other places that want to show you. It is a whole way of life. That's the thing you have to think about. If you want to get into animation, you've really got to go, what do I want to do with my life? What kind of people do I want to spend my time with? What kind of stories do I want to work on? Those are the big questions that you should answer before you go, oh, I want to be in animation. Well, like, you got to think about the whole thing. And you need to think past my first job. And I want us to end here soon, but like, can you guys give any advice about that? I think new students are just like, I just need to get in. If I could just get into Pixar, if I could just get in. But there's like, it's like the dog chasing the car. What does it do once it catches the car? So do you guys have any advice about that? Like, how do you get in this industry, but also like keep growing in it and make it like a good thing for you?
Yeah. Well, like I said in the past, how to get in is to, like, first you got to learn animation. Like, that's, if you don't know what good animation looks like and why, you're going to struggle getting in. And that's why I feel like that's why I joined AnimSchools, because I saw the showcase and I saw the level of animation that was being produced. To me at the time, it was like, this looks straight out of a movie. So that's why I think it's very important to learn animation, but also to get into a studio. I've said it on this live stream. You got to be truthful to yourself. You got to be specific with your experiences. You got to be specific to the character and put yourself in these animations. Like, that's the way I can best explain to how do I break in. And then I think just constantly wanting to learn and get better is another thing. Like, for me, I'm still trying to learn every day. There's something I'm trying to figure out, whether it's being better at figure drawing or, you know, doing this within my animations or learning more about the rigging process. Like, I'm just trying to constantly learn and improve, because I feel like when you're learning and improving, things are still always exciting. And then the moment you stop learning something, it starts to get stale and boring. So
that's awesome. And we're wanting to move on to the quick Q&A before I do, and then we'll end. We're just gonna do a rapid fire. So I'm gonna be please put your questions in real quick, and I'm gonna pick some real quick, and just anyone who feels like they can answer it real quick, we're gonna do that. We're really excited at AnimSchool. We've been around for 15 years. We've helped the careers of hundreds of artists. We currently have 500 active students, and we have graduates like Tyler and Alex came and took some classes at AnimSchool, and so it's super exciting. And to celebrate, we've never done this before. We're giving $180 credit towards your first class at AnimSchool. So jump in when you can. We have small classes, so these classes are taught live, and our deadline for spring term is March 30th. So when you guys go through the application process, I'll put a link for that. Make sure to put AnimSchool 15 for that credit. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna quickly fire these off, and let's go. So here we have this question. Hello, I am new in the world of animation. Do you think it's a good idea to share my work, even if I see it as bad or poor quality? I really wish to improve, but I'm scared for the criticism.
No, I think you shouldn't be scared of criticism. Like, that's going to happen forever. So it's art, it's subjective. So someone's always going to have something to say about it. But I think one thing that you need to understand from AnimSchool and also just working at any studio is you are always going to get notes. And it's not notes as in like, this is bad, change it. It's like, I think you can, maybe not move so quickly over here, or you can, this part is catching my eye, it's distracting my eye. So don't do that motion, don't do that gesture. Just eliminate that gesture. Just have us focus on the eyes instead. And as you get these notes over years and years, you start to like train your intuition of animation and your animation skills. So then later on, you're going to get less and less, but it's never going to go away. So I think it's very important to understand that feedback, constructive feedback, is essential to getting better and almost required if you ever want to get better and grow. So I don't think you should. And if you think your animation's bad, I mean, I think we all think our own animation's bad. So
For sure.
we see other people's work and we're like, why can't it look like theirs? So I feel the same way. Like, I see people at work and I'm like, why can't my stuff look like their stuff? So, I think you should share it. I think you should try to find people who you look up to, and maybe ask for feedback, like, I think that's always helpful. Some people aren't going to respond, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. Like, on to the next, and you'll find someone who will bite and give you feedback, and then you can use that feedback to make better animations, and then you start doing better animations, and then you'll realize you have a growth and a change. And
Yeah. And this one I'll give to Alex. Just how important is it, should you take acting classes if you're interested in performance? Is that something you should learn how to do? Alex, what do you think about that in terms of like an actor? Because animators are actors. We always say that at AnimSchool, animators are actors. So what do you think of that?
I think from my personal point of view, I definitely, if you're able to, yeah, definitely go for it. Because us as actors, the curve of learning is just so big, man. Acting is one of the top things to learn. It takes a lot of time. And when you learn to train your body, because sometimes when I'm referencing myself for a shot, I notice that I move too much all the time. It's just, I can't help it. But taking classes of acting definitely helps you like train. When you don't move too much and you move only the specific things you need to move, then the audience can get like a clear message. Like it's very important to be clear of what you show. And I feel like acting is so many things. Acting is purpose, acting is choice. It's definitely I feel like having structures help you figuring things out is the quickest way to succeed.
And what we do at AnimSchool, and I hope you guys saw earlier on when we were showing the reference that Tyler was doing for the mayor of the horse, we got to see Tyler acting out the movement. And we teach all of that at AnimSchool. So we were going to actually teach you how to take your own reference. And we take that very seriously of like some of our students draw out their reference like Tyler was talking about, but many just set up their cell phone and then film that reference, and then you'll get guided by an instructor on how to do that, how to make that process. And for you, Tyler, when you were at AnimSchool, how did you learn how to take reference? Like, did you know how to do that beforehand? Like, how did you learn that at AnimSchool?
I mean, I just would set up a camera and then do what I felt like was a good performance to my knowledge at the time. Like I said, from a very young age, I've always been like impersonating actors as a fun joke with my friends and stuff. So that part kind of came easier to me. But I think, how to shoot references, you basically put a camera up, read the dialogue in the same cadence and tone as that you're hearing it, and try to recreate a performance that fits that feeling and show it to your instructor and get some feedback on it. Like, don't be embarrassed about showing your acting reference. I think it's valuable to show people. You don't have to show everyone, but like if you just show a couple of people just to get their thoughts on it, you can get some really valuable feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wanted to jump in on that quickly. I would say that you'll get used to it over time. I remember with Tyler, I actually like my reference for a shot, like basically like laying in bed with a teddy bear. You're gonna have like these embarrassing moments with like reference, but just have fun with it. It's not that serious. Everyone's there to support you and to bring your idea to life. So just join the journey.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what Tyler's saying and Alex, right? Like just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. If you're gonna be an animator, you kind of have to think like an actor, which is you just have to get out on stage and bomb. You have to just get your material out there. You just have to not be afraid to put yourself out there. If you're gonna be an artist, you have to show your work. And even if it's not like what you want it to be, there's a thing called the gap. Our taste and our ability, there's always a gap there. And that's just what it feels like to be an artist. You have to get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable in this industry.
Yeah, and look, I am not comfortable with like acting 100% in front of a bunch of people. So I actually couldn't do it. I'd probably do like a 40% watered down version in front of people because I'm just not comfortable with getting into the character fully. But I could get into the character fully 100% if I'm in a room with no one there and it's just me. I just set up my camera and then I can actually just get into it. And now it's on the phone. So then I have this 100% version of my acting, and then I can show it to people at the studio and be like, what do you think? Yes or no? I'm not that embarrassed about it because I don't have to do it on the spot with like real eyes on me. It's just, for me, I'm not like a performer in front of a bunch of people. Like I said, I'm a cat. I'm introverted. I'm not, super extroverted, and I don't want to do all that stuff in front of people. So, but I think using the reference room to my advantage to get what I actually want to convey on my phone, and it's like, okay, it's on my phone. I can't do anything about it anymore. Now I can go show people and get some authentic responses.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're gonna try to end in 8 minutes here. So we're just gonna try to quickly answer some of these, and then we'll end for the day. Here's what's really cool is we can continue this conversation and other things. But if this the kind of talk we're talking about today seemed interesting to you, definitely check out animschool.edu with what we have to offer. A lot of people are like, how do you get started? Well, that's why we created AnimSchool, is to give a real clear way. When you're talking about, well, how do I get into Disney? How do I get into Pixar? Those are all the same. Those are all the questions that we've asked. And that's the way that the curriculum has been built around AnimSchool, is to give you the best, fastest way to get into it. And it's an 18-month program. You can get it done less than 2 years. And you go from class 1 to class 7. We teach 3D modeling, rigging, animation, and so definitely do your research. Go look what's right for you. But that's when we see how do I get into it? I think the best thing is to go learn from the people who are doing it, from people like Tyler, that he went and learned from people that we hire from AnimSchool. We're very concerned about making sure we're hiring pros. I just want to grab some more questions here. This is tough. So do you think it's normal to feel like you're average at everything? Because I'm currently a student studying computer graphics and animation. I know how to sculpt, model, texture. So I guess the question is like, how do you go from, again, you're recognizing the gap that you need to make to become better. Like, is there any advice that you pros can give about like how to start standing out or just like level up faster? Like if you're feeling average, what can you do to like break out of that? And real quick answer, maybe.
I think just find something that you really gravitate to and, dial in on that one. So if you really like sculpting and modeling, do that. If you really like animation, do that. Whatever you're gravitating towards most, dial that in and get specific there.
I'd say when you lose the fear of showing, you also lose the fear of learning. It's like it's so important to have. If you have access to a mentor that can give you feedback, great. If you don't have an access to a mentor, then build yourself a group of peers. And just show, because iteration is fundamental in our line of work. As when I get more excited is when my eyes can no longer see mistakes and I need, the help of my supervisor. And then he comes and he gives me notes, and, I start learning and seeing things that I didn't see before. And imagine doing this for so many months. It's like you're going to get so much better than just trying to do it all by yourself.
Okay, really quick. Do you think you have to be like native to America to work in American studios? So yeah, for you guys who've gone like Tyler, you went to Canada. Like, there's like, what do you say to people who are not in the American system? Can they make it in the animation?
I think, it's obviously a little bit harder to get into a studio inside the US because of the work visa setup situation, and it is easier to work at a studio in Canada because they are more forgiving and willing to accept people all around. But so I don't think, no, you don't have to be, American citizen to work at, in the big studios. Sony's all the studios in Vancouver are like great stepping stones to getting in, because if your work is very strong and the studios want to get you here, they will get you here. So
I think that's a really great answer. Is if you, I know it's hard to say, oh, be the best, but if you get really good at a specific thing that you're really good at, that the studios want, they'll find a way to get you there. I think
like,
it's standing out.
dude, I'm from Costa Rica.
Yeah.
It's like a tropical country, Central America. Is like, if you work hard, if your work is specific enough, you'll definitely get the opportunities and you will get there.
That's awesome. Great. Thanks, Alex. That's great. Hi, I'm working as a series animator for over 10 years, and I wonder to jump into another step right now, which is feature industries. Any advice for me? Where's the first step? So again, if you're like someone who's working in another area, what do you guys recommend? How do you jump to a kind of different area of animation or games?
Well, I think you should be building up on the side a demo reel of whatever you're trying to go for, because if you have like a TV reel or a games reel and you want to go into feature, it is going to be tricky and hard to get there, because you're only going to show us games and TV, and we might think like this person isn't ready to come over to feature. So I do think building a feature reel on the side, so basically just getting rigs and animating shots to acting performances on the side and building that up, so when you want to go apply for a feature studio, you have a feature reel ready.
100% yes.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Tyler, Alex, Manuela. This was awesome. I I love peeking into the process of especially what the work that you guys did on Zootopia, and that like I really appreciate, Alex, all the other insight that you brought into it, and that was super, super cool. Thanks so much. Any last words from everybody, like Alex, Tyler, Manuela? Any advice? Let's start with that. Like for someone who wants to work at a studio like Disney, what, in a really quick way, what would you say that they should do?
I'd say don't wait. Don't hesitate. Just do it. That's what I did. I saw AnimSchool, quit my job. I signed up. I didn't wait.
Awesome. Alex?
I'd say, like, as I said before, is like the ride of a lifetime is so special what we do. We impact people's hearts. So, it's never boring to animate something actually that's very special and that we're lucky to do it. So I'd say, like, if you are willing to put the hard work and to, follow your dream, I'd say, like, you have the tools, you can, schools like AnimSchool is like the perfect place to start if you wanted to start somewhere, but start. That's the that's the hardest part sometimes.
Manuela?
I would say keep going. I'm not in that step yet. I know, like, I just graduated. It's kind of different for everyone, but just keep going and have like go towards your goal. As long as you keep working your portfolio, I think things will work out in the future.
Yeah, I agree with all that sentiment. Just start and know that animation is a really great one to go into. If you're an artistic person, I've looked at all of them. I think there's not a group of people that's working today that want you to succeed more than animators. In AnimSchool, everybody wants you to succeed. So when you're here, you're going to make friends that want to help you and that you'll want to help. And so it's just a really great community. So definitely check out AnimSchool if you're wanting to get started in here. We're excited to help. And thank you so much, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.